listening to the IELTS podcast. Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation.
Hello there, and welcome to another tutorial coming to you from IELTSPodcast.com. The title of the tutorial today is this. It's what I am looking for when I grade an IELTS speaking student. So, wait a minute. Who is the I? Who am I to say this? Well, my name is Rob. I'm an ex-IELTS examiner, and I've been teaching English for quite a few years, including, of course, helping people get through their IELTS exam after I stopped being an examiner. So I guess I do have a bit of experience here. Quite a few years. I mean, more than 10, I would say, assessing students' speaking skills for the exam. And, of course, I mean, I've met all kinds, from people who are going to get a grade 9 to those who are on the borderline and might get a 6, hopefully. Everybody working hard, a lot of them in the exams, people I'd never met before and will never meet again. It's a short encounter, 15 minutes, I guess, from door to door when you welcome them in and say goodbye at the end. There's not much time to get to know the person, but you're evaluating the people over that short period of time. What are the key factors that I think are important when I am assessing, or other examiners as well, assessing speaking abilities? And what tips can I give you to help you do extremely well in your IELTS speaking test? Let's look at the 4 areas of the speaking test. In the speaking test, descriptors, band descriptors, which you can get online, you'll notice there are 4 areas. No, the first one is fluency and coherence. Well, obviously, the main aspects that we're looking for there is the candidate's ability to speak fluently and coherently, whatever that's supposed to mean. We know what it means, don't we? Fluency is, how it flows, of course, how smooth your speech is, how easy you make it when you talk. You're not apparently making an incredible effort to communicate. You're getting your ideas across. You're making your points without any noticeable hesitations or doubts about what you're saying. Of course, sometimes you need time to think about what you're going to say next, or maybe you're looking for a word which maybe because of the pressure of the exam suddenly escapes you. But if it's for a couple of seconds, that's no worry. But generally speaking, fluency is maintaining a steady flow of speech, linking words to connect your ideas, and giving your answers to any questions in a very clear and logical way. So what tips can we have to improve fluency? Of course, practicing speaking as much as possible, speaking with friends, speaking with classmates, speaking with study buddies, or whatever you're going to call them that you're preparing your exam with, doing it online as well. I think through IELTSPodcast.com there are quite a few opportunities you can have to have, I think, tutorials and stuff like that. No? So that's it. A lot of people also say for the coherence, you've got to use a lot of words to join your ideas together, like however, therefore, in addition, etc. Yes, don't overdo that though. Because when we're speaking, it's a natural thing where we're connecting ideas together very, very quickly, and probably using fairly colloquial ways of joining ideas. We might say, well, I'm not so sure about that. I think there are 2 ways of looking at that, because on the one hand, but on the other. That sounds fine, doesn't it? But are we going to say, well, there are 2 ways of looking at this problem. One is through blah, blah, blah. However, it sounds a bit too heavy, in my opinion. Keep it to a minimum, that, in your speaking test. For writing, that's another matter altogether. That's where we need our howevers and our therefores. But in speaking, just a bit, no? Keep it natural. Keep it smooth and friendly, like a good conversation usually is. The second area, of course, is what we call lexical resource. you know what that means. It's how much and how wide your vocabulary is. How much vocabulary do you know about particular topics? How appropriate is your vocabulary on different topics in different contexts? So obviously the candidates who can use precise and varied vocabulary to express themselves effectively are more likely to achieve higher scores in this area, are going to get the 7s, 8s, the top scores that you're really looking for. It's an interesting one, no? Because we've got to have a range, we've got to have depth and breadth, if you like. It's got to be wide and it has to be deep. Let's imagine we're talking about any topic. I don't know, modern technology, for example. We're going to use expressions that probably will be familiar to most of us. We're going to talk about, I don't know, online security issues or access to education or different kinds of things. Collocations. Did I use that word collocation just now? Ooh, don't teachers love it? Don't students think, oh, what's a collocation? It's very simple. It's words that go together, that we use frequently in any language. All languages are full of collocations. We just associate a certain verb with a certain noun, a certain adjective with a certain noun, etc., a certain adverb with a certain verb, and these things just go together. So I think I mentioned on technology, online. Okay, online learning platforms. That's a kind of a common collocation these days. A platform, platform, online platform, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so how do we do this? How can we expand our vocabulary? Well, I think being very active with it. I mean, it's a question of reading, it's a question of listening, it's a question of watching films, podcasts, magazines, newspapers, books, listening and talking to other people, native speakers, non-native speakers, etc., 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 as well, of course, as organizing what you find, these new expressions, new ways of saying things in the best way possible, noting them down, words and phrases, but in an organized way. I mean, it may be according to the context. You might want to, let's say, organize vocabulary associated with sport, vocabulary associated with education, and so on and so forth. Or it might be according to the grammatical use or the very, very, very important aspect of synonyms. There are good arguments to say that, the whole IELTS exam is very much connected to vocabulary. The more vocabulary, the more extensive it is, the more you will understand quickly the reading texts, pick up things in the listening test, as well, of course, as being able to use your vocabulary both in writing and in speaking. So pay attention particularly to context, collocation, and, of course, the other thing that we often stress, and it's a tricky, interesting area, these so-called idiomatic expressions. Don't forget that in IELTS speaking, one of the points to get a high band score in lexical resource, as we call it, is the correct use of less common expressions and idiomatic language. I think some people go overboard with that. I mean, I've had experiences years ago of students trying to be too idiomatic, and I don't know how you feel about that, but when people use, for example, expressions that English people don't use anymore. I mean, okay, talking about rain, for some reason, yes, I suppose the English, because it rains a lot in the UK, we do have a lot of ways of talking about rain, but I don't think I've ever heard anybody, apart from students occasionally, saying, it's raining cats and dogs. We don't actually say that anymore. It sounds so old-fashioned. We say, it's pouring with rain, or it's a downpour, or something like that. Now, that's just an example. that I wanted to give you to show, that when we're talking about idiomatic expressions, you can overdoing it. You can overdo it. I mean, the other day I was having a class with this student. It wasn't for IELTS. It was a different kind of thing. And he was using a lot of very, very good idiomatic expressions. I asked him a question and he said, as a reply, "Oh, you've hit the nail right on the head." Well, what he meant was that my question was very precise and concerning the context or the topic we were talking about. And, it really was to the point. Now, that was a good use of it. But I wouldn't want that same student, whose English is very, very good, by the way, to use expressions like that all the time. You've hit it's very true what you just said. Oh, yes, it's very, very, very good comment, very fair comment. You've hit the nail right on the head there. Because it gets a bit boring. Just use them from time to time when the occasion arises, okay? Now, let's go on to grammar. But before I do, remember, one of the reasons why we're here is to help you get the highest possible band score you can in your IELTS. In this case, we're talking about speaking, but you can also help yourself. I mean, a lot of smart-minded students like yourselves these days are using what we've got here on IELTSPodcast.com, the AI essay checker. Have you heard about this? Get into it as soon as you can. Sign up to it. I don't know the details. It's not my job to know those details, but I believe it's very easy to get into. And what happens is this. You can send off your writing, your essays for part 1 and part 2, either academic or general training, and within hours, I think it's 48 hours maximum, you get from the AI essay checker your feedback, which will point out the good, the bad, and the ugly. The way you need to improve. Very, very practical and useful advice to help anybody improve their writing, improve their score in IELTS writing. Sign up for it today. I mean, when you get into it, you'll find also, of course, on the website, if you don't know it that well, lots and lots of stuff to help you in all kinds of areas, vocabulary, grammar, the writing, speaking, reading and listening parts of the IELTS exam. Explore it, have fun with it. I mean, it's well worth it. It's well worth it. Is it? People talk about these days, to get back to our collocations, investing your time. Not one of my favorite expressions, to be honest with you, but there it is. People are encouraged to invest their time wisely. And if you want to invest your time, go ahead and get into that, okay? Let's get back to what we're doing now. The favorite topic of all teachers, because it's the first thing we learn when we're teachers, the first thing we notice, perhaps. Well, that's not exactly true. I tell you what's true. When we're listening to people speak English, or when you're listening to people trying to speak your language, probably the first thing you notice is the vocabulary, and the pronunciation. You think, oh my God, you're not saying that right. We don't say it like that. Or you've used the wrong expression, or that's too formal or not formal enough. We also notice, of course, the grammatical mistakes. We usually excuse them, don't we? I mean, as long as you're communicating, we think, okay, your grammar's not perfect, but you're doing pretty well. Don't worry about it too much. But obviously a teacher maybe has a different point of view, because it's a fairly crucial aspect, I think, of the speaking test. I mean, what I always look for, and still look for if I'm teaching an IELTS candidate, is control. People who, as far as possible, I'm not saying they don't make any mistakes, but a lot of the things they say are completely error-free. And they're using an excellent mix of simple and complex sentences. They're using the verb tenses well, the articles, the prepositions, sentence structures. Now, this grows or builds steadily throughout the speaking test, because it starts off, remember, in part 1 with personal questions, but there the examiner is already on the lookout for, hey, does this person handle the difference between present perfect and past tense perfectly well through the questions they're asking? And how about the future? And how about speculating for the future? How well does this candidate refer to things using modality, you know? Well, I think in the future it may happen, etc., etc., etc. As well, of course, as showing an awareness of other things, not just verb tenses, but also how about nominal groups? Nominal what? Well, you know, I mean, English is full of them. I mentioned one earlier on. You know, the way that we build up words around a key or basic noun to form an expression like online learning platforms. I mean, English is different to some other languages. We put all that information after the noun. We put it in front of it. So we have those long expressions sometimes. Those things teachers will notice and examiners will notice. They pick them up. An examiner, even in the first couple of minutes of the speaking test, is going to be noticing these things and thinking, this is a 6. Oh dear, so many mistakes. Because don't forget, for grammar, if it becomes, how can I put that? If there are too many errors, the examiner is likely to award the candidate a 5. So we want to cut those errors down. I mean, look at the ways that, particularly in part 3 of the speaking test, where you would have the chance to use more complex structures. You know, when you're practicing, get together with study friends. I think it's a great idea. This it doesn't have to be a native speaker. It could be both of you preparing for the test, and choose your topics, pick your topics. They're all available around. You can get them on the website on IELTSPodcast.com or in other sources, of course. And, think, okay, this is a good opportunity to use a conditional sentence. Record yourself. Get the criticism and feedback from your study partner and give it yourself. Think, okay, you've missed an opportunity there. You could have used a conditional sentence, or that wasn't quite accurate. Oh, let's check out the grammar of that conditional sentence. If I had known that you were coming, I would have. Oh yeah, let me check that out again, for example. Okay, so checking out your errors, correcting your errors, trying to minimize the errors is extremely important. Okay, where are we going? Yes. Pronunciation. Okay, pronunciation, of course, is an interesting issue, isn't it? Because I want to hear in the exam, or when I did the exam, clear, accurate sounds, and also use intonation and rhythm as much as possible. I mean, candidates who can pronounce words correctly and get their meaning across using intonation are more likely to score higher. Don't think that you have to speak like a native speaker. We all expect students from all parts of the world to use English with their own personality, their own culture, their own accent. There's nothing wrong with that as long as it's intelligible. I mean, my criteria has always been, not me as a teacher, because my job is to understand students from all over the world, but if this person were in the UK or in the United States or another English-speaking country, would other people, not teachers, understand them clearly? If yes, good. If not, this could be an issue, so I'm thinking of a 6. If yes, there's no problem, I'm thinking of a 7. If they use good intonation as well, I'm going up to an 8. One final point, of course, we interact, we engage with people. And in the speaking test, your ability to come across as an engaging person, a person that's a pleasure to talk to, is also very, very vital. I mean, actively listening to the questions, providing relevant responses, as well as, perhaps being a bit more spontaneous, even from the beginning, even when you first meet the examiner at the exam center. Hello, good morning, hello, how are you? I'm very well, thank you, and you? It's a nice little start. Don't just sit there waiting to receive information. Try to interact yourself. I mean, these different skills all mixed up together will help you enhance your speaking skills and increase your chances of achieving a great band score. And remember, mastering the art of speaking is a question of dedication, consistency, constant practice, and awareness of where you're going well, and awareness also of maybe little things where you can improve. Okay, so by the way, don't forget to give us your feedback on all this kind of stuff. I don't know where you're listening into this. Maybe it's on Spotify or wherever, but share your feelings, share your views. We would love to hear your reviews, and share this information with friends as well, saying, hey, look, I found this website where you can get into different tutorials. Have a listen to this. It wasn't that bad. Or, well, I didn't really enjoy that one very much, but I like the other one he did the other day, or whatever it's going to be. Okay, so do that. And don't forget about the AISE checker. Okay, so I'll speak to you again very soon with the speaking test. Just keep going, enjoy it, and work on the different areas that you think you need to enhance your skills. Okay, so bye for now.
Thanks for listening to IELTSPodcast.com.